This week on the Digital Marketing Scoop, we're talking about remarketing, what it is and some clever ways you can use it to increase your leads and sales. Hey everyone, welcome to this week's episode of the Digital Marketing Scoop. This week we are chatting about remarketing. So we're going to go through kind of how, of course, what remarketing is, how to set it up, and some kind of clever ways that you can use remarketing to increase the leads and sales through your online marketing and through your website. So Jen, if we're looking at setting up remarketing, I suppose there's two kind of main platforms really for it. Yeah. There's Google and Facebook.
Yeah.
There's lots of others as well, but I suppose they're the two that most people would look at.
Yeah, I guess once you have kind of Google and Facebook nailed, you can set up the rest of the trackers pretty easy. I mean, each platform tends to have its own one. So Facebook will have Facebook Pixel and Google has its suite of trackers really when you think of it, between Google Analytics, Google Tag Manager and Google Ads. And Twitter, LinkedIn, they would have them as well. Instagram is going to be incorporated into your Facebook Pixel anyway, just all owned by the same. But before you do any remarketing, you have to have these set up. There's no two ways about it. I use Google Tag Manager to set up everything because it's so handy. You can just have everything in the one place, but just make sure that you set it up. First of all, by installing it, and then second of all, literally jot down a list of everything you want to track or each stage of your funnel or cycle, and track those aspects as well. So you're thinking, first of all, you want to remarket to your website visitors, but then you might want to segment and retarget different messages to different people depending on how they've interacted with your website as well.
Yeah, depending on like if they visited a specific product, or if they clicked a specific button on the website, or they fill out a specific form. These are all kind of things you can track and then tell Google or Facebook or whichever marketing tool you're using, okay, if this person performed this action, go and show them this ad or this YouTube video or that specific creative. Yeah. So I suppose one thing you touched on there was the funnel. Yeah. And so it's the remarketing side of things is very interesting from at the start of it, where you're probably still at an awareness stage. Yeah. Whereas someone is further down the funnel, you're going to be really, really specific on what you're showing to them. Yeah. Like one way we love to use it for kind of the B2B side of things is if somebody visits your website, it could be their first time there. They may not know your company. So you need to start creating trust with them. So if they visit your website, what we'd love to do then is to use testimonial videos on YouTube, so that once they visited your website, they're going to start automatically seeing your testimonial videos on YouTube. And that starts creating a huge amount of trust between you and the website visitor. Yeah.
I mean, we talked about this in our last podcast, the kind of big difference between Facebook ads and Google ads being users' intent. Yeah. So when someone searches you on Google, they're intentionally looking to find you or something similar to what you do or sell, whereas on Facebook you're just putting something in front of someone that might like it. But with remarketing, you're actually putting something in front of someone who has indicated that they are somewhat interested. So it's a much more powerful marketing tool when you're using Facebook. I just think if you're not doing it, you're probably wasting all your not all your budget, but a good chunk of your budget that you could be maximizing through remarketing, definitely.
And another fantastic way to use it for e-commerce is through Google with Google Merchant Center and Facebook through Facebook Catalog. Yeah. And the way I always describe to people is if you've ever been on Amazon or on Booking.com and then you're on another website and you see the exact ad for that hotel you just looked at or that product you just looked up on Amazon. So that's dynamic remarketing. That's basically, in the example of an e-commerce site, if you have a catalog of products, somebody visits a specific product on the catalog, now they're going to start seeing that product across Facebook, across Instagram. Yeah. And that's very powerful because you're putting exactly what the person is looking for back in front of them again.
Exactly. Yeah. It's extremely powerful. I mean, now sometimes you can go too far with it. I mean, you can buy something on Amazon that you just need the once and it'll follow you for the month. But that's when you need to start using it smart. I mean, you can exclude audiences just as much as you can include audiences. So if you want to retarget people who visited a product and didn't purchase it, then you can include the audience that have visited, added to cart, and then exclude the audience
of converters.
Because there's nothing worse than seeing it's like I've bought it. It's okay, leave me alone. I've bought it. But if you do it like that, people won't get annoyed with you either.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Yeah. And it's what you brought up there as well with the add to cart. That's also a very powerful way of getting people back into the funnel.
Yeah.
So if somebody they visited your website, they've added products to cart, but they haven't checked out, there's potentially a reason for that. Maybe they're like, okay, I'll come back and do this at another stage. You want to make sure that you're reminding them of that they've added the products to the cart. They're sitting there, they're waiting for them.
Yeah.
And remarketing is a great way to do that.
Exactly. And there's little tricks that you can do. I mean, they're usually textbook tricks, to be honest, but like, say if you noticed in a certain day 100 people went as far as the cart and then they suddenly dropped off, then they could magically see an ad to say that there's 10% off of it all of a sudden, or the postage is now free, or just a little extra
coupon code, or
coupons, that kind of thing. And then especially with coupon codes, that's a really good idea actually, because you can see very quickly as well. I know the pixels will and the analytics will tell you how many came back through the ad, but the coupons are a really good definitive way of seeing how well they worked as well. Yeah.
And one thing as well, I suppose, is we're talking an awful lot about remarketing to people who haven't become a leader, who haven't become a customer, but there's also remarketing to people who have purchased a product on your site. So like one very powerful way to use it is in terms of cross-selling another product to them. Yeah. So if they bought a specific product, but there's a particular accessory or something that goes very well with that product, that's a great way to sell that to them.
Exactly. It's like a camera and a lens, that kind of thing. The other thing I really like about remarketing to an audience that has converted is you could say, here's an incentive for you to leave a little review, or things like that. So you can constantly be building on your brand and your brand awareness and even your kind of social kind of back up to that,
Yeah, it's a good way of building loyalty as well. Like to use the example of the camera is that if somebody converts on a specific camera, okay, now you're going to automatically start showing them tutorials for that camera on YouTube or on Facebook or on Instagram. So you're building that loyalty. You're helping them straight away after the purchase, and that's going to obviously impact your brand very strongly, because immediately they're, even without asking, they're getting help and they're getting support. Yeah,
I think it's when you get to that stage of remarketing, that's when you're really hitting the nail on the head. That's when you're doing it right. Yeah. That's when you're taking it to the next level.
So I suppose, look, the key takeaway from this episode would be, if you're not doing remarketing, definitely start doing it. Yeah. You don't have to blanket the place with your ads, or you don't have to be following people constantly. You can set frequency caps so they only see you once or twice a day. You can do it much more subtly rather than being in people's faces with it.
Yeah, it's one of those things that people strongly, when they talk about ads in front of them, it's what they describe as, I keep seeing these ads, and that is remarketing. That is the point where people get irritated. So I think it's super important just to bear that in mind and do it subtly and strategically, more so than being like, here, see this. Oh, now you could have this and this and this. Just if you do it well and you do it subtly and you provide value more than anything else, then you'll do really well with remarketing.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening. That has been this week's episode of the Digital Marketing Scoop.